Welcome, everyone. My name is Peter Rofe. I'm the district trainer for District 5040 on behalf of the Learning and Development team. And welcome to this session of the Treasurers Forum on November 26th. And we have three topics this morning to cover based on the survey of district treasurers, or club treasurers, I should say. And that's budget development, cybersecurity, and cloud accounting. And to take us through all that, delighted to welcome Jacqueline Ho, who's our district treasurer, and Gord Dalgleish, who's our district finance chair. And before we get underway with their presentation, we would like to start off with a poll. And so the two questions in this poll would ask you to respond, and then we'll share the results. So here it comes. Okay, I think we're done. Okay, so this a range of club sizes and a medium to higher level of experience. So would now ask Gord, please, to start the session.
Thank you, Peter. Good morning, everyone. For our guests, a big welcome for you getting up this morning. I hope you had time to have a cup of coffee to get yourself primed for everything. My role in the district is finance chair, as Peter says, and that's a role that we started about 6 or 7 years ago under Ken Wilson. And I was part of the committee under Ken, and I've now been chair for the last, 3 years, 2.5, 3 years. I'm delighted that we have an expert with us this morning, because I am not a financial expert, I hasten to add. So I'm not a professional finance person. Some of you on the screen are, but our host this morning is Jacqueline Ho, who is our district treasurer and has been for the last 3+ years. But she's also a club treasurer, so she sees both sides of the coin. And Jacqueline's been working very hard to put together the contents of this morning. So as Peter said, we've got 3 items we wish to look at. And the first of these is budget development. These topics have been taken from the survey that Peter sent out some weeks, maybe a month or so ago. And these were the 3 top topics that people wanted to discuss. That's why we've chosen them. So budget development. We're going to do just a very, very brief poll, excuse me, at the beginning. So Peter, could you run that poll, please, on budget development?
Once again, there's 2 questions there, please.
Yeah.
But Peter, since I'm not a treasurer, just an eye on the wall here, I'm not going to do the polls here. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Did John say he was an eye on the wall or a fly on the wall? Uh-oh.
So a lot of experience and involvement in club budgets, so that's good, seasoned people. So thank you.
Good. Well, that gives us an idea. We've obviously got some professionals there, and that obviously helps us to tailor how we do the presentation, because we don't wish to teach grandmothers to suck eggs, as they say. So most, I suspect, of what we'll be covering in these sessions will be discursive. So it's not chalk and talk, it's not just head and shoulders talking to you. We will start with a presentation about the topic in each case, and then we'll be opening it up to discussion. So to see how all that works, let's start off with our budget discussion, which was an area that many of the respondents said is something they wish to talk about. So I'm handing over now to Jacqueline, and Jacqueline will give a short presentation on the budget aspect, and then we'll be opening it up. Jacqueline, over to you.
Thank you, Gord. Thank you, everyone, for coming this morning as early. So I woke up early as well. I just want to give you some brief introduction about myself. I'm a district treasurer right now. This is my 4th year. And I'm also the club treasurer for 4 years as well. And I am a CPA, professional chartered accountant, and I'm a principal of a very small accounting firm. So I just want to set some expectation here. So this is a forum for sharing experience and discussing issues. And there's no stupid questions. I'm sure you guys are all look like you guys are very familiar with accounting and things like that. So it's excellent. And I may not have all the answers, or we may not have all the answers for these sections. So we will follow it up later, and Peter will send us some information if we need to go further to discuss about it. So let's start the section. I would like to share the screen with you. So I just quickly did some of these presentations here. So this is the forum for today. And as I understand from the poll, everyone seems like it's very familiar with the treasurer role, so that you guys have been with the know how to do the budget and have been doing it regularly. So I just quickly go through where, if a new treasurer come in, I will recommend where they go to. So here is the Rotary.org website, because in the Rotary.org website, there are tons of information in there. So if you are passing along your treasurer role to a new person, here you can refer them to here. There's tons of information under this learning and reference. And also, when you go in there, there is a page specifically for the treasurer. So this is the learning and reference page. Under here, the role as being treasurer, you may not be a treasurer. You are not a treasurer this year. You may be a president next year or a secretary next year. But this page is very good for you to refer to. And I want to show you there is a discussion section in discussion group here. So once you log in, now I haven't logged in. Once you log in, you'll be able to see a lot of discussions among treasurers. Let me see here. Yeah, I have to log in order to go there. But this is a very good, there are lots of information and discussion that you guys may be interested to know. Then now, let's talk about the budget. I'm sure, as I understand from the poll, everyone, including myself, I did the poll, that we have experience and very familiar with the budget process. So I don't need to reiterate that how important it is to do the budget in order to make it a very successful year for the board and for yourself as well as a treasurer. So I think my budget development presentation will be up to here, as all of you are very familiar with the budget process. So can we talk about if you have any question or any challenges while you are doing the budget?
I just mentioned that I'm a believer in planning ahead, and like buying a house where it's location, 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 where budgeting is plan, plan, plan. And I would always recommend that if possible, president-elects go to PETS with a draft budget. It's not a budget that has all the bells and whistles, but at least it'll be an indication, because at PETS, a lot of information comes to you, to the presidents, that they may wish to reflect in a budget. So it's never too early to start a budget. And I would say that by early in the new year, January or February at the latest, you should have a draft that you can take to PETS, or your president can. Thanks.
Thank you, Gore, for your insight about how important it is to have the budget ready. For my club, we always have our budget. Every year we have our budget, and sometimes we had the budget after the July 1st, but it's always good to have the budget before that. So in the coming year, we are trying to have our budget ready in April, and then revision in May. So by the time in June, we are all get ready for the July 1st new fiscal year. So can I have you, maybe Greg and Raymond and John, share with us your experience with working on your club's budget?
We start our budget process probably in May, looking at what we hope to achieve in the coming year, and also to get the incoming president familiar with what's going on, so that person can actually set their goals as to what they want to accomplish during the year. I find one of the problems is trying to get people involved in the process, because most people don't seem to be, or don't think they're financially literate. They sort of shy away from getting involved in anything to do with preparing numbers. But I think it's a process definitely that needs to be done. And then, of course, the other difficulty you run into is that I find that most club members pretty much, unless they're on the executive, pretty much ignore the budget as the year goes on, and just let everybody else take responsibility. And really, they're not that involved in anything other than just giving away the money that's raised as to how they should see fit. So I think it's a combination of many things. But if you can get the people involved, once they get involved, they seem to pay attention to them. But it's a learning process of trying to get people involved and understanding how important it is for the whole operation of the club. Because if you don't really have a budget, it's like driving a car and not knowing where you're going. So trying to get through to people seems to me to be the most difficult part.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, because for me too, I'm the only accountant. I'm not the only accountant, but the other accountant is a retired university professor. So all the accounting work, the legwork, I'm the one who's taking care of it. So yes, I totally agree with you. When I present my financial statement every month, they are not interested. No, whether it's compared to the budget or not, they're not interested. So what I'm trying to say is they're not interested in listening. They want to know what is our bank account right now, and that's all they want to know. So are you using an Excel spreadsheet to work with your budget, or what kind of tools?
What am I using?
For your budget?
We're basically just doing it on a spreadsheet. But maybe one of the things that I've tried to do in the past couple of years is to get the incoming executive to sit down and almost try to not teach them what the budget and the operation of the finances is all about, but try to give them a better understanding of how it all works and how the sort of bookkeeping process operate so that they can, when they look at the financial statements, if they ever look at them, they can get some idea of how these numbers come together and how the budget and those things all kind of work together. But it's a struggle because they just, I guess, unless you're an accountant or have got a numbers mind, they just find it very difficult to understand where it comes from, where it goes, and how it all gets recorded. So I guess it's an age-old problem of just trying to educate people. And as I say, most of the time they just think, well, let somebody else get on with it and I'll just tag along. And as long as nobody's stealing any money, we're okay.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you, Raymond.
Strategic plan and update it regularly, Raymond?
Sorry, what was that?
Does your club do a strategic plan and update it on a regular basis?
Well, we try to do once a year, but that kind of falls through the cracks. Again, I think because of the COVID situation, we lost a lot of continuity in things that we were doing and with people. And now we're finding that it's very difficult to get people to come back in and be active. You know, our lunch meetings, which we were averaging probably 30 to 35 people, we're now down to 15 or 18 if we're lucky. And I think people have just got out of the habit of sort of saying, well, Thursday at noon is Rotary lunchtime, and that's a commitment that I have, and I'm going to be there. So whether that's going to improve over time, who knows? So it's difficult.
You know, a lot of that's reflected at district level as well, because one of the things that has been irritating district governors for several years is that we cannot get the various committees at district level to budget and to say, I want to spend, you know, $3,000 on developing membership at in my area. And it really has frustrated Lauren particularly, and John, that they cannot get districts to budget and put in a budget so that he can put his budget in turn. Very, very frustrating. As far as strategic planning is concerned, yeah, I hear what you say. I think since we lost Don Evans, we may have kind of dropped the ball a little bit on strategic planning. And the important thing there is that the budget is an intrinsic part of strategic planning. And if you don't have a plan, as I think someone said earlier, you don't know where you're going. And if you don't know where you're going, you never know when you get there. It really is important that we try and get forwards to tackle the strategic plan again.
I just would like to add, though, that we have John Bathurst, who's head of the district strategic planning group, and has been working with a number of clubs, and we've moved a huge leap forward with John and team. And so my question was going to be to John, in developing budgets, starting with the strategic plan, is there a way that the financial part could come into that planning and be a deliberate piece of that planning, that it would show up and always be a reference, and also reporting to your club, you know, the reference would be that we're doing this according to our plan, and here's our budget picture related to that step. Those are just thoughts.
Well, I reflect what Raymond is saying, and that is that people love to talk about projects and concepts, but when you try to get them into the specifics, it's another leap altogether. And so financial fluency within clubs is an ongoing thing, very much. In the development of budgets, my limited experience has been one of the critical items is people seem to get a fairly good grip on what you're going to spend, but the thing is what's our revenue going to be? Where are we going to, you know, the dues is there, but you want projects and all the rest. So I know the Vancouver Club has adopted the process that what we raise this year is what's available next year. And you use a one-year deferral to give you some certainty on what your revenues are going to be. because I see in a lot of clubs, we talk about the things we want to get involved with, but we don't see, you know, can't commit to the revenue. So that's always and I think Jacqueline, your club is extremely fortunate, because in a lot of cases, and I think it may even be the will of the board, is getting timely reporting throughout the year, that if you budgeted something, you know, where are we on the budget periodically? And I think periodic reporting is so essential. And when you don't have it, it's, to use the car analogy, it's like you're driving in a fog. You know, you think you're going in the right direction, but you're really not sure. So those would be my two observations. And yes, going back to the strategic plan, it is raised. We got everything going quite well in COVID with Zoom, but people have moved away from Zoom, and now we've got to remuster our group and get it refocused so that we can do things around the district. And I think we will still need to do that dreaded Zoom approach to it, but there are benefits to it as well.
Yeah,
And
great. Excellent, John. Thanks for sharing your strategic planning process and the process and the budgeting process. So Greg, do you have anything to add?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. I brought up my monitor, so it comes off of that. The budget, we do a budget every year, but the problem I have with doing the budget, because we do it on stage 50, and you can't really do a budget for the next year until you start the next year, and that puts us behind the ball for doing getting the club up and running and doing the budget for the next year. Yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Okay, great.
About
Thank
that.
you. Yeah, thank you for sharing that,
Yeah.
Greg. The district also using the Sage 50 for their financial statement reporting. And I also work on the Sage for the budget. I totally understand what you mean. You would not be able to input the new budget figures until after you finish. Oh, so how they work it? They can still store 1 year's budget information. So in this year, if I'm working on the 2023 fiscal year, right? So the 2022 budget number still in there if I call up the report. But if I will not be able to go any further back to the year before. But you will still be able to put on your new budget for this year once you are entering into the new fiscal. This is my experience. So maybe try it out. Maybe it will work.
Yeah, I'm going to try that this next year. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, usually we do it in the Excel spreadsheet first, like Raymond said. And then when the year comes, then we just input the new budget into the accounting software. So, yeah, I think the time is up. Is that right, Nancy, for this session?
Well, I think Peter is your timer, so we have to be determined by what he says. So
He's just said, get a move on, Gordon.
So any discussion on the budget development topic here? If not, I can move to the next one.
I think we should move to the next one, because we can always come back to budget when we have our half hour at the end of the total session.
Yeah,
So
Greg has his hand up.
Yeah, just a note on the budget is the members, they like to know how much they can spend for projects and stuff, and that's pretty well the only take I can see what all the other members in my club want. Of that one line that says, yes, this is how much we can spend on things. They don't really care about the membership revenue or fundraising revenue or anything like that. They just want that one line.
Very, very
true. They can do for projects.
Yeah, thank you, Greg. We can discuss a little bit further after the first hour session, and the second hour is an open forum. We can talk about that further. So let me share.
Cybersecurity.
We have a poll.
Yes, there's a short poll that Peter's going to run.
Sorry.
So 2 questions again.
I just mentioned that I'm only aware of one issue we had with that our club had with cybersecurity, and they were hacked and lost a substantial amount of money, although they did get recompense for that loss. But it just brought up the fact that you need to know who you're dealing with if you're doing stuff through the web.
So
Well,
fortunately,
that's good news.
yeah. But that's must be a disaster when that sort of thing happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful that we didn't see any problem with our clubs here. And here is what I prepare for cybersecurity. So I'm not an expert in IT or cybersecurity, but this is what I learned throughout the year. And also I got some of this information from the internet. I love to watch. I love to read. I don't know whether you are a LinkedIn member, but there are tons of information in the LinkedIn website or LinkedIn chat group that you can learn from there. So this is one of this information that I learned from there. So cybersecurity basic, I'm sure everyone knows what that is, but just quickly go through it. As we have to update our software and install the latest patches and set automatic updates. So what I do is automatic updates. I did it in the morning, 2 a.m. Just set it up. So I'm in bed and my computer is working. And also secure your file, backup your external hard drive. So backup has to be in an external hard drive or in the cloud. The reason is if it's still in your computer, if your computer get hacked, there's no way you can recover it. So it has to be separate from your computer, somewhere you put it out there. And the passwords, that is very important thing. People just, sometimes people use one password for everything, but it is a very good advice to use a strong password with at least 12 characters with mix of numbers, symbols, capital and lower cases. So nowadays, I think most of the sophisticated website, when you log in, they will request that. They will request your password be like that. It's not just as simple as just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or things like that. It has some mixture of different numbers and symbols. And the other thing is I want to say is don't share them on the phone or in the text or by email, because that if you do it that way, your phone get hacked or your password will be disclosed. And same as in text and by email, because lots of people will like to do that, but it's not a good practice. So, and use multi-factor authentication. As I said, most of the sophisticated website provider or things like that, or those type of provider, they already have this multi-factor authentication. So you can't get away from it. And the router, that's one thing. People use the Wi-Fi, and it's very important that we'll have an encryption. But I think this is it is already a standard thing that the router will have that. And then shred your documents. Don't just throw it into your garbage, shred them. And erase the data correctly. What does that mean? Sometimes people will think that we deleted the function we use the delete function, but it doesn't work because those sophisticated scammer, they can recover anything from your cell phone or your computer, and all your stuff will be disclosed, and they will got all that. So there are some examples, some acronym about cybersecurity attack, ransomware, and there are website infectors. So if you go to the website, click on the link, you will get hacked. Your computer is toasted. And also online ads. If you are seeing something unbelievably good, and then you click on the link, and then there is a problem. And phishing email, so that I'm sure everyone knows about that. And they always send you email and saying that you win, or you win a big prize or something like that. But don't ever click on those links or give them a call. The best thing to do when your computer is getting infected, just disconnect your computer and then get it fixed. spoofing, if this is the one that Gore was talking about, someone's emails got hacked. And then when an organization's email got hacked and an email was sent to their customers and asked them to direct their payment to another website or to another email address. And the money is lost and will never be able to recover. So there is another one, is technical support scam. I got there several years ago. My friend got a call from some well-known tech company, just like Microsoft, and saying that your computer is having a problem, and we are here to help you to fix your problem. But before we can fix your problem, we need to have remote access to your computer. So they did that. But then what happened? Once you get access to these people, they will install a malware, and then they can access to your information. And also they will say, oh, we are fixing your computer. We need you to pay by credit card. So your credit card is got compromised. So one good thing about that is about our district. That's what I'm trying to say is district has a cybersecurity policy, insurance policy. It is being covered when you pay your dues in the first half of the year on July 1st. Besides your dues, there is also an insurance. That is the insurance cover the general insurance for the club and also cyber insurance. And there is a deductible if there is a claim. It's a deductible of $2,500. So it's always the individual club's responsibility to implement plans and employ resources to prevent the cyber attacks. It's not just, oh, there is a coverage from the club, then that's okay, there's no problem. It's only $2,500, that's fine. No. And the other thing is, you want to look at the cybersecurity policy and any information that provided by the insurance company to help us run the club. And you can find it at the district website. Is in the district website. And the other thing I want to talk about before we have the open forum for this section is here is the government of Canada. They have some cybersecurity guidance. So here's the page, have a lot of information. The latest information in here, you can go in and check it out. And the other thing is, if it is unfortunately you are being hacked, what happened, then you should report it to this organization, Canadian Center for Cybersecurity. So report that so that this is a criminal cybercrime and maybe a criminal offenses too. So they will investigate and help the other people not being hacked as well. So under this one, you can report it as an individual or as an organization if unfortunately your organization is being infected. So that's my short presentation about cybersecurity. And I now would open up to the forum for the discussion. So as I understand from the poll, none of us in here or none of the clubs are being hacked. But does your club has any prevention? And does everyone know about how to prevent that from happening?
Maybe I could just add another question in there. Do the clubs have their own dedicated computer and computer hookup, or are people running them on their own personal computers with their own personal cybersecurity? So I think that's an issue in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
For my club, we are all use our own computer to do the club works, the Rotary work. So I'm not so sure about the other one. And it may not be the club may not have a dedicated computer for people to work on, because we are in a different committee and we work different times and different location. So it may not be okay. It may not be easy to pass along the computers. And any thoughts on that?
With our situation, all of the club's accounting is done on my system as just part of my accounting practice. I think one of the things that cybersecurity, if a hacker wants to hack you, they're going to find a way in somehow. So I think one of the things that we should be equally concerned about is internal controls within the club itself, and who has access to checkbooks, and who's issuing payments and authorizing payments, collecting dues and all that sort of thing. I'm not aware that Rotary's ever had a major embezzlement in their history, and if anybody knows of one, I'd be interested to know what that is.
It certainly has happened, Raymond, I'll tell you. Not necessarily in our district, but it's not uncommon.
Oh, really? Yeah, so I think it's, again, because of the basic lack of interest within the membership of matters financial, other than where can we spend the money, it's a problem, but hopefully because of the kind of people that are in Rotary, it's not that big a problem, but it's something to be very much aware of, and something to keep your eyes open. And I've noticed recently we had a situation where a couple of checks that were issued went out with only one signature instead of two, and they were paid by the bank. So it gives me the impression the banks aren't paying much attention to proper signatures on checks. Fortunately, they were just little amounts, and it wasn't a problem, but it just shows how easy it is for these things to slip through the cracks. And obviously keeping good control of the checkbook and the deposit book is probably a good idea. Fortunately, we've never had any problems. Hopefully it will stay that way. And of course, I'm such an honest guy that nobody would ever question my integrity.
One other thing I just mentioned on the insurance.
I'm sorry, but and that, of course, is one of the mistakes that people make, is that this whole process is based on trust. You trust somebody to do what's right, and that's how they get away with stealing the money. Sorry to interrupt you, Kurt.
Does the foundation have an extra layer of security for that sort of thing? Do you know?
I'm not aware of
Well,
anything.
I mean, clubs are dealing with foundation funds, of course, but it's linked into the central foundation system. I presume that's all well protected.
Yeah. But one thing I was just going to mention about insurance, yes, we do have coverage. As Jacqueline said, it's part of the insurance contract that the district has. However, insurance companies will expect you to be doing due diligence in terms of your transactions and your operations. It's the same with youth exchange. If you wish to claim against youth exchange, we want to see that we're doing due diligence. In this case, the criminal record check. So bear in mind that the insurance company isn't just going to write a check. If you say, hey, we lost 5,000, please send check. They'll say, well, what did you do to protect your data, to protect your finance or whatever? So they will expect due diligence to have been done by the clubs. So it's something that we should bear in mind.
Yes, Gordon, on the website, we do have steps that are recommended that clubs should do to protect themselves. So have a look at that. Yeah, I think Greg had something to say, Jacqueline.
Yes, Greg, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, our computer for running like the accounting software is it's sort of like air gapped. It's behind my firewall in my business, and then I just remote control into it. So it just sits on my desk down at the store. And then when I took over as a finance person or the treasurer in our club, then we, like, for money and checks and all that sort of stuff, it goes by the same policy as my store. So like we don't write manual checks. Just Sage 50 has to write the checks. They have to get signed by 2 people. All the money gets counted by more than 1 person, and then it gets deposited right away. And those are things that never happened before. They used to have money sitting around like for weeks at a time before it gets deposited and things like that. That doesn't happen. So
So what I understand is we have implemented policies in there. So cybersecurity is not an issue at this time for the clubs, but you know what? Those hackers are really ahead of the anything. So now we don't have a problem, doesn't mean in future we don't have a problem. So yes, we need to implement enough security features and to deal with our emails and things like that. So we can talk a little bit more in the open forum, because I have just put some notes down there, and we can talk about the 2 signatures requirement. And because nowadays we have a lot of the people are doing e-transfer directly from the bank deposit into the other bank. So I want to talk about it a little bit more in the open forum. So I would like to pick your brain on that at that time. So great. We are pretty on time. So it looks like cloud accounting is not a big issue for all you guys. Like Raymond is already doing that, I'm sure, in his practice, cloud accounting. And so maybe I just go through it quickly.
Jackson?
Yeah.
There is a poll to start this.
Oh,
segment.
yes, you're right. Thank you
So-
for reminding me, Peter.
So this is our final poll, and we've got 2 questions in there. Okay, I think that's it.
Wow, it looks like it's excellent. No one is using Excel spreadsheet. That's good.
Okay.
No, it's great. So actually, you know what? My club is still using the Excel spreadsheet as our accounting software, but they have already approved to use the online cloud accounting. So it's just that we haven't started it yet. So it's still work on the Excel, but starting from this month, we will have it on the cloud accounting. So let me quickly go through what I want to share with you about cloud accounting. So cloud accounting is not a new word to anyone now. So it's an online accounting, and it has most of the same functionality as the desktop software. So it's being hosted by the remote server, and the data is sent in the cloud. The feature, they have all the features as the desktop version, so P&L, balance sheet, budgeting, dashboards, etc. And the benefit of it is you can access financial data from any location at any time. And because this is a cloud storage versus a store locally, so you can not just the financial information being stored in the cloud, you can drag and copy or send your copies of your expense receipt, invoices, or bank statement, and all being stored in the cloud. So there's no more paper that you need to worry about. And it also enhances smooth transition from one treasurer to the other, because it's not in my desktop, it's not in my computer anymore, it's in the cloud. So I don't have to send you the USB or whatever. So anyone can have a look at it. One thing I like about it is if if the president, he or she wants to know anything about that, they can just log on to the software on the cloud, and they can see a rough financial statement there ready for them. And for training purposes, of course, it's very easy. You can do it on Zoom while you are logging on your cloud accounting, and then do the training from there. And there's no more updates necessary. In the past, you have to buy 2 or 3 years time, you have to buy a new software. But now it's always be up to date in the cloud, all the software information. So we don't have to do an update, a separate update anymore. Another benefit is you can get all the information from the bank automatically once you had it set up. So you can do your bank statement and also your credit card statement as well, and reduce manual work, and then it's very user friendly. So you don't have to worry about if you don't know how to do it. It's easy. The learning curve is not steep at all. And the drawbacks, I would say, is the cost is not cheap because it's a monthly cost instead of a one time. Like in the past, you just buy a software and then you can use it for 2, 3 years or 5 years. It really doesn't matter. But now, no, you have to pay it monthly. So the most commonly used accounting software is the QuickBook Online, and we call it QBO. And then the other ones coming up is Xero. And there is also the Sage online versions in tax. So these are, I'm sure I don't need to, but I would just have it here and just show you, because I know people like Raymond or Greg and John, they probably have been using these. Just want to show if you're passing along to your new treasurer, there is a way, because all these ones, all these big software company, they have their video tutorials online. It's very easily accessible. And this is Xero. And you get all the information in here that you would like to know. So nowadays, you don't have to look at the manual. They're all here to help you. And also for Sage, there's all these information in here. So for those who don't know, how much does it cost to have a online cloud accounting? Here, I just give you some examples of those 3 we just talked about. For QuickBook Online, there are a dedicated page for price and plan and pricing. Yeah, Xero as well, and Sage as well. And these are, so here is the link, and then you can come here and have a look at all the features they offer. So the more expensive, the more features available. Same thing for Xero and for Sage. So the price is basically more competitive. As you see here is $44, $66, $45, $58, and $39.55 per month. These are all per month cost. And yeah, they're not cheap, but they help you to do your work. So they always have these types of promotion. So currently QuickBooks is at 75% for 3 months and 50% for 6 months if you are using Xero. And for Sage now is $0 for 6 months. So I understand you guys are using, some of you guys are using software. So Greg is using Sage, and Raymond, does your club use, your club is using your accounting software? And is that QuickBook Online or Sage or Xero?
So it's on Sage.
Mm-hmm. Oh, also on Sage. Is it a desktop version or online?
It's desktop at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how do you find that if you have a desktop version? Are you the one been using it ever since? So even though if you are not a treasurer, you will still be able to, you are still helping out?
I'm sorry, what was that? Say that again.
Oh, Because now you are helping out to do the financial statement on your firm's software. So if I'm assuming you are currently the treasurer for your club. So
Yes.
if you are not the treasurer for your club the next 2-3 years, and how is it going to be transferred to the next treasurer?
Well, that's a very good question, which is something that we're negotiating and discussing at the moment as to how we're going to do that. Again, as I've said a couple of times, the problem is finding members that are willing to take on the job, that understand what the process is, because before I came along, when I look back on some of the ways that we're doing things, it's frightening, but that's part of the problem with this kind of organization where it's purely voluntary. And our club has also discussed hiring a part-time sort of external bookkeeper, which may, when I finally hit the bricks, may end up being the only way to go. So it's not just a question of what software you're going to use or whether you're going to use an Excel spreadsheet. It's a question of finding people that understand how to use those tools so that you actually get meaningful information, garbage in, garbage out. It's I think that's the biggest problem in this whole financial aspect of voluntary organizations. It's just an inherent built-in thing that you have to deal with.
Yeah.
You're dead right in that, Raymond, and succession planning is a major issue across the whole district. I would just mention that at the moment, we're looking for someone to replace Jacqueline because her term is up, and we're looking for someone to replace me because my term is up. So if you hear of any good names, please pass them along to John or to Shirley Pat.
Not being a treasurer, but how transferable is our systems if you've been using, say, QuickBooks for 3 years and the new treasurer at Sage? Is the data easily transported over to the other system?
Well, I think it's a question of the level of knowledge of the person that's taking it over. Probably if you're going from one professional accountant to another, it's not that big a problem because both parties understand what's involved in the process. But if you're going from a professional accountant to a volunteer who's doing it just because somebody needs to do it and they've volunteered, then you've got a whole different situation, because it's not only a question of getting the person familiar with the software, but also how the whole accounting and reporting process comes together. And that's probably the most difficult part of the whole process. So again, depending on who you've got on deck that is able to fill the slot.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's probably true in most of the positions that people are taking. They take it on because they feel an obligation to the club and want to do their bit. But that doesn't mean that they've got the knowledge and experience to actually do the job that's required. So
if a club is in that situation, let's say the incoming person doesn't have that much experience, and you've got someone else who does, but transferring over, is Jacqueline's position as treasurer or Gord's position as finance chair, does the district can provide some advice to help that transition? Is that feasible?
It's
go to you.
If all of this information that Jacqueline has is online on the cloud, then basically it's very easy for a new person to just log on and access that information. So that's really not a problem. Again, it's having somebody that knows how to log on and then what to do with it once you are logged on. It's like
Sure.
reading
we
a
had-
foreign language.
But the
We had
district
one
can help out if
treasurer.
necessary.
We had one
Well,
treasurer
Yes, I
last
think
session.
if there's resources within the district that can help clubs that are having problems, then that would be a terrific asset to any clubs that, especially the smaller clubs where they, you take a club like Vancouver, they've probably got in their membership probably 50 accountants of different types. You take a club in, I don't know, the middle of nowhere, northern BC, and they may have a club with 10 members.
Yeah.
They just don't have the choices to choose from. It's get somebody that's willing to do it somehow.
Raymond, I was just going to interject that our club is far more exciting than having 50 accountants in our membership base.
I can't imagine.
But the accountants are exciting people.
We are, we're maligned, and I don't know why.
You know, I just found out sometimes, yes, accountants are there, but not all the accountants are willing to take up the club accounting. Because I heard that they've been doing that for every day, right? They just want to have a break. They don't want to do it again.
Right.
So
We do it out of the goodness of our hearts.
that you and me are like that. But not every accountant is like that. So Greg, so now you have the accounting software in your Sage desktop. So if you have a new treasurer coming in, so how are you going to transfer that information and also doing the transition?
Yeah, we don't have a new treasurer coming in. I'll probably be treasurer for the next 10 years.
Yes, that is another thing that's yes. Okay, so to answer Peter, I think your question is if one accountant is or one treasurer is using Sage, the other one is using QuickBook, is there an easy transition? Yes, the answer is yes. It's a very easy transition. If you go Google it, all these QuickBook or Sage or Xero, they will have instruction of how to migrate from one to the other, because they are trying to steal customers, right? So there are lots of information online to do that. So it's 10 o'clock now. So my presentation on the cloud accounting is completed, and we can now open to start the open forum. So anyone has any question we can discuss, and the open forum is for the next 30 minutes.
Jacqueline, did you actually switch to cloud accounting already?
No, I'm going to set it up. I'm going to set up in QuickBook Online.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're interested to do that or to switch?
Well, not really right now, but I mean, there are advantages to cloud accounting, and there's the disadvantages is price, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say yes.
Because when we went to like Sage 50 several years ago, we upgraded to like the 2000 version, so we're still on that. But then we haven't paid anything since like 2019 now, so it's been free. So
yeah, for now, yes. If I would say if you don't, because a lot of the time these accounting software are so you can do a lot of things with this accounting software. They're so sophisticated, but what we are doing maybe we are just using less than 10% of the capacity. So if your club is not a complicated club, has a lot of projects and things like that, you may keep on using the same software. But the chances are some point of time in future, they were saying that they will tell you that they're not going to support that version anymore.
yeah, well, they don't support the version I have now. So and the reason we use Sage 50 is like I'm not just like the treasurer in Rotary. I'm like the treasurer and other clubs and things like that for the Chamber of Commerce and our Lakes Outdoor Recreation. I'm the treasurer for those too. And we all use Sage 50. And then those other people have other, I don't actually enter all that stuff, as they have other people that enter it and I just look at it type of thing. So that's why we
think
use that.
If you're using Sage 50 and you're not doing payroll, you don't need to update your version. It's good enough to last for, unless there's a problem within the software. But updated programs really only are a problem if you're doing payroll, which the deductions and etc. are changing constantly. So your software is probably good for, as you say, for the next 10 years while you're still treasurer.
Yeah. The reason we had to update to the 2020 version is to get it to integrate with sending out bills for doing it on email. And the 2016 or the 20 whatever version we were using before didn't integrate properly. Yeah. So, but feature-wise, nothing happened between like something that was 6 years old and the 2020 version. The program was just exactly the same. Yeah. And we spent like $600 or whatever to get the new version.
Right.
So.
Yes.
My laptop's still on Windows 7 and it works beautifully.
You're still in the ark.
Well, see, that's one of the other things is Windows 7 isn't really supported anymore for cybersecurity point of view. You should be on Windows 10. So
yeah,
I think what you're going to find over time is that as the software gets more and more involved, you're going to need to update the hardware more than the software, because it is the programs that they're coming out with now. I mean, you look back a few years, and as you say, the Windows 7 was the state of the art, or state of the art, not the art. And now it's antiquated. So that's the problem, is trying to keep up with all of the new stuff that's coming along. So
I would hasten to add, I'm on Windows 11 on this laptop that we're speaking on now, so I'm not really a dinosaur. Just
so I guess it's a problem that we're just going to have to live with, and hopefully we can survive.
Yeah, planned obsolescence.
Exactly.
Does anyone use the Club Runner feature that allows you to do billings for events? What do you do, or what would you use for sort of getting people to sign up online?
My event runner. Yeah.
So our club use that for registration. In the past, we use it because Club Runner, I think, is partnered with Bambora. So when you want to have a registration due Club Runner and people pay by credit card, you will be using Bambora. In the past, we used Bambora. The reason is that there is no monthly charge. But ever since, the club, they only have, maybe 2-3 projects in a year, but then there is a monthly charge. At that time, we feel that is expensive. It's $10 each month. So it's $120 for the year. So that's why we quit using Club Runner and Bambora for registration and taking money or paying or getting paid. But now I think we are thinking about doing that again, because nowadays people are paying by credit card. It's very easy to pay by credit card. And the other thing is I just want to talk about is e-transfer, the thing that we using it a lot of the time now. So our club have quite a number of projects every year now. So we set up a e-transfer email address called Treasurer. It's not just, I'm sure a lot of the other clubs are doing that too. So it's Treasurer at richmondrotary.com. So, and we ask people, and we set it up with the bank. So when people for our register for our event, they just send money by e-transfer to for the auto deposit into our bank account. So we also have another option for taking money, that is the Square. When we have event on site, people can pay at that time. Or they also have a feature that they can call, that they can give me a call and I punch in their credit card information in Square, and we can also receive money from that way. So, but I think we are thinking about setting something up that we can do like Bambora. That means is taking credit card when people registering to an event. So
the advantage of my event runner is that you always have an archive of people who registered for an event, and you can go back if you want to refer to people who've been to previous events, or figure out how active they've been in the club and that sort of thing. So there are advantages beyond just collecting money for events.
Yeah, that is the attendance we are talking about, because people, if we don't use Club Runner for that, we have to manually key in that information. So yeah, so that is a very plus for using the Club Runner as the event registration.
I think in time we're going to find that everything is going to be online. There's not going to be any more checks, or it's all going to be e-transfer and online payments through Sage and whatever. So again, that's the way things are evolving, and I guess we have to somehow set ourselves up to be able to take advantage of all that. This last year with our dues, we invoiced everybody and everybody did e-transfer, which was a great time saver and worked like a charm with no problem at all. And we got payment very quickly rather than waiting for people to send in their checks and then trying to go through a whole process of collecting the receivables over time. So we basically had all of our dues paid by I think it was around the 20th of July. We were all set. So I think that's the coming way.
Yeah.
That's really
Like I
good.
was saying, we're doing all that stuff by e-transfer, and it is so easy and so efficient. And luckily, we have a very experienced CPA who's our treasurer. But previous to that, it was an inexperienced accountant or doing treasurer. But she also found it great to do the e-transfer. And I think that's something we should certainly be recommending, that all clubs have a very close look at doing that. That once it's set up, it just works a dream.
Yeah, that's right. So
Um,
Greg, oh, sorry, Peter.
I have a question to John regarding working with clubs on strategic planning. And I know because you worked with our club, but trying to get the club to nail down financial figures for their various steps in their strategy. And so that's done as much as possible. And I guess, I'm just thinking what I've been trying to do recently, a second time around as a president, is to link all that together and keep reminding that this is what we're doing and this is how much it's going to cost, and trying to get the Treasurer's report to line up with the strategic plan, by heading, etc., to make it all linked together. I kind of partially succeeded in that, but our treasurer didn't go all the way. Anyway, I think it's so important though that there not be two silos. Of course, you got your plan and the budget's all part of that, and getting through to that with the clubs so that they can make sense of it all and see why this is happening and these expenses are being made and revenues coming in.
No, your point's well taken, but I mean, I think Raymond has outlined it very well. And that is, when you get the club together to talk about who we are and where are we going and who's going to do it, there's a line there, oh, the treasurer will bring forward a budget for the board. And, you know, in the strategic planning, you don't spend an awful lot more time than sort of, I'll call it the lip service, just because of engagement. Usually, you know, that's the time people want to get coffee or something. But no, the points are extremely well taken. And accountant myself, you know, I think the other expression is when you're doing a plan, and part of what we do is you say you get what you measure, and so that's part of it is outlining. You know, as I say, fundraising is usually the baffle point for people. Well, how do we know we can do that next year? You know, our fundraiser is not till December or whatever. And that's why I know our club has taken that view in terms of the top line has to be established this year for you knowing what you can do next year. I'd be interested to hear what Raymond and Greg have to say about their clubs in terms of that. Some clubs have very good recurring fundraisers, but other clubs, it's, pardon the expression, it's a bit of a pig in a poke sort of thing.
Yeah, well, we had two major fundraising issues. One was what we called Club 200, where we sold 200 tickets at $100 each. And then over the year, we would award $10,000 in draws, and $10,000 was used for the club donations. And we also had the Duck in a Truck, where we sold tickets that raised probably another 20,000. But in both of those cases, the Club 200 was kind of stopped because the gaming board changed the rules, and we got sort of, I don't know whether we're going to be able to revive that. And the problem with the Duck in the Truck program was getting people to do the work that was necessary to make that event happen. So that was a big undertaking. So basically, and the other problem we had with the Gaming Commission was that we couldn't get money from them because they felt that we had too much money to start with, and why did we need any of their money? So we're trying to work
that as well.
Yeah, we're trying to work around that so we can start getting some of that lottery money in our hands. So like everything else, it evolves, you know, things change. So we're desperately looking for some new fundraising ideas because we're basically about $40,000 short this year of what we would normally have. So that's going to curtail our activities quite a bit. It's just one of those things that things keep changing.
Yeah. Okay, does anyone else have any comments? Jacqueline or Peter, Greg, John, Ray?
I think Greg, I think John is also asking Greg about the question. Will Greg want to talk about that?
Don't recall what the question exactly was, but for the one of the issues we have for like doing like budgets and stuff and money coming in and money going out is like we just finished our Rotary auction just like last week, and that's our biggest money maker, and it took in about $10,000 less than last year. So it makes it hard to budget and do things when you don't know how much money you're coming in. And then the other thing is a lot of our money going out, if it's for an exchange student or our Tweedsmuir trek, that money goes out at the beginning in July and August type of time frame, and then we get the money coming in. So one of the things that I've done is it isn't exactly the same as the fundraising money coming in. We can't spend until next year, but a good portion of our budget, I have 50% of our entire budget has to be in the bank at all times. So like if we don't have a fundraising thing, then we can actually last until the end of the next year type of thing. But that includes our entire budget. That includes not just the fundraising things. That includes like all the dues and everything else. That money has to be in our bank at the June the 30th type of thing. So
I think the other thing we have to contend with is the present economic situation, you know, with the cost of everything the way it is. People are not spending money like they were. So it's, again, it sort of curtails a lot of the fundraising activities, which again is something we're just going to have to work with, and hopefully that it won't last too long and we can get back to doing something more with more money.
Yeah.
Any more question on this? And I have other questions I want to ask. For Raymond, you mentioned about your club is trying to get a external bookkeeper to help. Is it your club or someone's club trying to get an external bookkeeper to help with the bookkeeping?
Well, no, that was one thing that we discussed at one point when we were talking about succession, because a lot of the members of our club, like me, are getting old and frail. We were trying to think of what do we do to get some younger members into the club. And when we were talking about the actual treasurer position, somebody brought up the fact that maybe at some time we would have to engage somebody on a fee basis to do it. Obviously, that would probably be the last choice. So it's not somewhere we want to spend money, but as things evolve, things change, and you have to adapt. And again, you get somebody from the outside, so they really understand what Rotary's all about and why you're doing it. That to me also opens up the possibility of embezzlement and all kinds of things when you get somebody on the outside that's not being properly supervised. Just one of the many things to deal with in the day-to-day activities.
Yeah, because the reason why I asked that because one of the club called me and asked about that possibility, and actually they already hire an external bookkeeper to help them with their books. So I just wondering, because we, as I understand, getting a treasurer to do the books is sometimes hard, and not all the treasurer knows about accounting. And some of the clubs, like my club or our club, we are very active. There's tons of information even though the monthly financial statement it will take me more than a day or two to get it done, because each member, they're paying, and also we have lunch meetings and people pay by e-transfer. So what that means is I'm not collecting money on the site. So that has to be transferred to some sort like a spreadsheet to record all the accounts receivable from them. So there are a lot of recording that need to get done. Yeah, and then after that is the financial statement. You need to get ready for the board meeting every month.
Yeah, I don't think people realize just how much time and effort is involved in being club treasurer. As Jacqueline was saying, the amount of transactions and the people just have no concept of the process. So they think it's just a case of, oh, well, you collect the money, you put it in the bank, and that's all there is to it. So again, that is another thing that puts people off of taking on the treasurer's position. Because of the time involved. I'd suggest that it's probably the major time-consuming function of any active club.
Yeah. So any comments about bookkeeper to help with the club financials?
Well, what might be interesting, if everything is so much electronic, it doesn't necessarily need the bookkeeper to be very close to the club. would there be somebody that maybe would want to do a on a contract basis to a number of clubs that would get some efficiencies out of it? As we go online and we're paying what looks like $600 to $1,000 already just to have somebody do it, you've already got the down payment on somebody. I know you're not going to get anybody to do this for $1,000, but you know, sort of the delta, the difference between the cost of doing it yourself and the cost of hiring somebody. And if we had an efficiency, it may be something to explore, just an idea.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This is
That's
certainly an
probably
area
if
I know clubs have looked at. In fact, the district looked at it as well. In fact, Nancy, you were involved at one stage in looking for a bookkeeper to help with the district finances. I know our club certainly looked at it, and occasionally we put some money in the budget in the hope that we would find someone. But it's just never come to fruition. One of the issues I did find is that it's not just knowing accounting. You got to know how Rotary works, and how RI works, and how the Rotary Foundation works. You need to know some aspects of that in order to be completely competent at doing the books.
Great, yeah, great discussion. I have one last question, I think, before we end at 10:30, is about reviewing the financial statement. So I am going to be the club president next year. And I'm lucky to get my treasurer on board for the next year. And the first question he has with me was, the book is being prepared, and is there any audit or review by someone else? So I think this is a very good question. So I just wonder how the clubs are doing with that. Is there someone overseeing after the treasurer is doing their financial statements?
not in our club. That's basically they trust me, which is the wrong thing to do, to trust one person. But yeah, we don't do any kind of audit. We don't do any review. It's purely a compilation situation. And I try to keep the board as informed as I can during the year, so there's no surprises. When they see the year-end statement, it's pretty consistent with what they've been seeing all year at our executive meetings when we review all the financial information. And again, you start getting into reviews and audits, you're looking at a lot of money to do those things, to employ an outside qualified accountant that can sign off on those engagements. You're probably looking at $5,000 to $10,000. Well, clubs can't afford that sort of thing. So again, we have to just put our trust in the people that we put in these positions. And as I mentioned before, having the proper controls in place just to protect everybody, not only the person doing the job, but also the directors of the club. We just have to do it because of the type of organization we are and the limited resources that we have.
Jackie, I think a good idea is to get another member of your club to review the.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to suggest to you.
Yeah. Rather than going to an outside, any member can review the financial statement.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think as Raymond mentioned, it's too expensive.
Yes.
To do any audit or review, but I would suggest to have someone in the club to do that. So someone has some financial experience to overseeing the financials. It doesn't need to be every month, maybe quarterly or even semi-annually, just to have a look at it to make sure, to give us a peace of mind, to give the board and all the club members a peace of mind that the financials are prepared correctly.
And I think it's also an assurance to the treasurer as well. It supports the treasurer that everything is okay when it's reviewed.
Would it be feasible if you didn't have anyone in your club, because it was a smaller club, to have a neighboring club who has an accountant have a look at that as a favor? I don't know if that's too far-fetched or not, but
I think that's a possibility if the club wants to have somebody else just take a look at it without entering any sort of formal engagement. Just say, look at these. Do they make sense? Is it in a decent format? And, that's a good idea. Maybe that could be helpful to some of the smaller clubs in how they're doing things.
or then maybe you got an accountant in your community who could do it as a sponsorship and you could recognize them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a good way to do that too. So what I have in mind is to have the past president of the club to help to look at it as well. So yes, it's just as Nancy said, it's a support to the current treasurer. Otherwise, if there's something happen this year or in the future year, the treasurer of this year is going to be blamed. Right? If they're not doing the right job, if no one is overseeing them. It's not overseeing, it's no one is helping them to make sure the financials are correct.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think the asset test is that when you go to the treasurer and say, we'd like someone just to do a quick overview, when you get the obfuscation that, oh, things aren't quite ready and all the rest of it, there's your first danger signs. But anybody who says, yeah, come on in, I think you've already accomplished what you set out to do.
Right, absolutely.
That's perhaps something that could be brought up with the assistant governors who all have, groupings of clubs, be it the north, the south, or wherever. They might like to bring that up with the presidents or with their clubs if they have issues in terms of having a review. And I would certainly recommend a financial review rather than an audit, which is what we do at district level. We actually do a financial review. We don't do a formal audit. The financial review itself costs about 6,000 or 7,000, and that's a heavily discounted price. So it's not cheap. But I think it's something we should do.
I think there's enough resources within the district that if a club reaches out to the district and says, look, we need some help. Can somebody look this over? Or we think we might have a problem here. Can somebody give us a hand? I'm sure there's resources available that would be more than happy to give some advice or assistance as required.
I think you're absolutely right, Raymond. We have a lot of people who can do that. Any one of us can go and do a review very well. Gord, I think that's a good idea about letting the assistant governors communicate with their presidents to encourage them to have a financial review. I don't even think it needs to be quarterly, but especially at the end of the year, someone should be reviewing the statements. And I think that's a good point. And I can easily do that with the assistant governors.
I think that's worth doing, Nancy.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, next time when someone asks me about that, I would say, yeah, talk to Nancy.
But the other benefit of that is that there may be some issues come up during that review, not necessarily for any malpractice or anything like that, but just issues like the ones that we brought up in this forum and in the previous one a couple of days ago that don't normally get visibility. Doing that kind of review could give the visibility and enable us at district level to be of some assistance.
Yes.
Just a quick thought. I don't know whether the invitation to the Treasurers Forum went out to the Rotaract clubs, but my experience was that the younger members in the Rotaract clubs really need extra support and help with budgeting and some basic controls. A lot of them are just sort of starting out in the volunteer world, and anyway, it just occurred to me that that's an area that we as a district should, as Rotaract is becoming a much more robust part of the overall Rotary family.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, very good idea, John. So maybe Peter can go back and talk to his committee and offer something like that to the Rotaract clubs.
We do that on the foundation committee. We do invite the Rotaractors to our forums. And I think
Yeah.
it's a good habit to get into.
Mhm.
So if on Club Runner, if we pick distribution, say, in this case, to club treasurers, are the Rotaract club treasurers on that list?
Oh,
I see.
Probably not.
When
I
you go to all clubs and all members, of course, then the Rotaractors are on that list.
Yeah,
But by club position, I think, John, as you say, probably not.
Yeah.
well,
you-
it's
you-
on the district website. The Rotaract treasurers, if they have one, is already listed. So you're right, Peter. It would be good if they did get the
Well,
invitation.
Well,
I
I'll
think they
just
were,
say-
just like when I sent the dues out at my first year sending the dues out, I thought, oh, I check off everything, right? But there are Rotaract clubs and they received my invoice and they are, oh, that they are not supposed to receive invoices. So I know is they are on our general list. Once you click on it, they get all the communications.
Anyway, I'll double check that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
good.
Okay, so I am done and anything, and thank you everyone for coming. And yeah, this is an early Saturday morning and we would love to have you guys back in future. So I'm back to the finance chair, Gord, to to you and Peter.
Well, first of all, thank you, Jacqueline, for giving us your expertise in these various areas. Excuse me. And thank you all for attending. Thank you for giving up your Saturday morning brunch to attend this. This is the second one that we've run this week, and they've both been well received and very successful. So if you have comments about the session or about the whole treasurer training we've just done, please do drop a note to Peter or to myself, and we'll be delighted to receive any sort of comments that you may have on that. So thank you all very much. Thank you, Peter, for your excellent moderation. Jacqueline, thank you for keeping time. And Nancy has been in the background noting stuff, so she'll be thanked as well. So I thank you, Nancy, for coming along. And I see you're still in Prince Rupert. Looks as if
I
you're
am, yes.
Looks as if you're halfway on
This
the
is
water.
to let people know that the weather is great in Prince Rupert.
Always.
That the rain thing is just a fallacy. It's not true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think if you look at the weather in Richmond and Jacqueline's picture, it's a damn sight better than even Prince Rupert. Anyway, that's it, folks. Thank you so much once again. And don't hesitate to contact Jacqueline, Peter, or myself if we can be of any assistance in the future.
Cheers.
Thank
Ciao.
you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good weekend.